Hello everyone, welcome to Break the Stereotypes. This is Han, and I write about stereotypes happening in American movies. Today, let's talk about one of the most beloved romantic stories in 2018, Crazy Rich Asians.
Right, we've been dating for over a year now, and I think it's about time people met my beautiful girlfriend. What about us taking an adventure east?
Like Queens?
Singapore, Colin's wedding. Don't you want to be my family?
I hardly know anything about them. Every time I bring them up, Nick changes the subject. Maybe his parents are poor and he has to send them money.
We'll take a bags and get you checked into first class.
Nick, we can't afford this. So your family is rich?
We're comfortable.
That is exactly what a super rich person would say.
Director Jon Chu's Crazy Rich Asians outlines the life of a modern Asian diaspora through a dominant Asian American cast. As such, the film goes beyond the preconceived notions of the Asian people in earlier films whereby they are depicted as funny sidekickers or any other negative stereotypes that are apparent in films. However, despite taking a modern approach into the subject, the film still plays into some of the notable stereotypes that seek to portray the modern Asian man and woman in a light that emphasize their subordination to the dominant white culture of the West. However, despite taking a modern approach into the subject, the film still plays into some of the notable stereotypes that seek to portray the modern Asian man and woman in a light that emphasize their subordination to the dominant white culture of the West. Therefore, while the film seeks to counter the racial stereotypes against Asian people as inferior by trying to highlight notable strengths, the film ends up underscoring the same stereotypes that work against the Asian people, especially those that seek to enhance their domination by other dominant races.
1.2 million.
The Nick you're dating is Nick Young?
Yeah, you guys know them or something?
Hells yeah. They're just the biggest developers in all of Singapore.
Damn, Rachel. It's like the Asian Bachelor. These people aren't just rich, they're crazy rich.
Now, you really should have told me that you're like the Prince William of Asia.
That's ridiculous. Much more of a Harry.
Crazy Rich Asians juxtapose the traditional values of Nick's conservative Asian family back in Singapore with the independence and self-determinism that is embodied by Rachel, as played by Constant Wu. By doing so, the film ends up inviting controversies as it appears to underpin the negative stereotypes that are associated with Asians. First of all, despite being a sign of one of Singapore's richest families and an eligible bachelor, Nick's family seeks to influence his decision of who to marry.
Mom, this is Rachel Chu.
She just thinks you're some, like, unrefined banana.
No. Those are a few fingers.
Yellow on the outside or white on the inside.
Do something crazy!
I chose to raise a family. For me, it was a privilege. But for you, you may think it's old-fashioned.
Don't you want Nick to be happy?
I know you're not what Nick needs.
She's like trying to play a game of chicken with me, thinking I'm gonna swerve like a chicken.
But you can't swerve. You gonna roll up and be like,
Bok bok, bitch.
okay, maybe like not as aggressive.
This fact makes him conform to one of the notable stereotypes that are propagated by Hollywood films concerning the Asian man as effeminate. The fact that Nick's mother views Rachel as an unsuitable suitor for her son. The film turns from being one that seeks to erase the existing negative stereotypes against Asian men by instead overwriting them. The film, in its presentation of an empowered Asian populace, also finds itself supporting the same negative stereotypes that position the Asian people as inferior in terms of culture compared to the Westerns. The film highlights one of the most controversial stereotypes whose application in the West has served to the disadvantage of the Asian minority in places such as the US. This is the model minority stereotypes. The film overemphasizes vanity and the luxurious lifestyles of a select minority of Asian Americans in what happens to be a crafted endeavor aimed at underpinning the model minority stereotype. For example, the emphasis on the fact that Rachel is a university professor on numerous occasions in the film serves to paint her as a privileged woman who has tasted independence both career-wise and financially. The film, therefore, seeks to overplay this aspect of the character as a way of making those people who identify with her and have made some personal development goals feel privileged. The model minority stereotype, as enhanced in Crazy Rich Asians, serves the disadvantaged Asian American, especially when they are forced to consider themselves as better off as compared to other minority ethnic groups such as the African Americans. Jon Chu's romantic comedy entitled Crazy Rich Asians raises controversial concerning its portrayal of Asian people through the perspective of the West. While the film seems to erase some of the negative stereotypes against Asian people that were inherent in earlier films, it ends up underscoring some of the notable negative stereotypes that people of Asian descent in the West are treated to and that are detrimental in the manner that they result in their subjugation by other dominant races. For instance, by seeking to contrast the traditional perspective of Nick's family in Singapore with Rachel's independence, the film ends up underpinning the stereotype of an Asian man who lacks the appeal of effeminate. Also, by depicting the privilege of a select category of Asians, the film not only highlights but also supports the model minority stereotype. Well, we really should think about how many stereotypes we have been ignored in our daily life, aren't we? If you are interested in some other minority stereotypes besides Asian Americans, you are welcome to visit my blog here.